Imagine this scenario for a second. You are sitting at your desk. It is like 4 o'clock on a Friday.
Oh, no.
Exactly. Your boss walks over, drops this digital folder onto your server, and just says, "We need a terrifying B-movie monster poster by 5.
Oh.
And it needs to look cinematic.
Right, of course it does. By 5.
By 5. So you open the folder, and your heart just absolutely sinks.
Yeah.
Because you don't have, fully realized 3D rendering.
You never do.
No. And you definitely don't have a photograph of an actor in, like, expensive Hollywood prosthetic makeup. What you actually have is a completely normal photograph of a guy wearing a blue striped shirt.
Just a guy.
Just a regular guy.
Yeah.
And then a separate picture of some rusty neck bolts, some image of surgical stitches, and this weird, flat, green, scaly texture. That is literally it.
Wow.
Yeah. You have to somehow take these entirely unrelated chaotic elements and stitch them together so seamlessly that the human eye completely buys the illusion. And you have an hour. So what do you do?
I mean, it is the ultimate trial by fire for any designer. It really is.
It's terrifying.
It is. Because it's the exact moment where you realize that graphic design isn't just about, making things look pretty. It's about digital forensics.
Oh, I like that. Digital forensics.
Yeah, well, it's about reverse engineering reality, because when you look at a final movie poster, you see a cohesive world, right?
Yeah, you just see the monster.
Exactly. But the designer sees the duct tape. They see the hidden masks, the mathematical blending of light and shadow that forces the brain to basically accept a guy in a striped shirt as a resurrected corpse.
And if you have ever tried to do this, you know exactly how quickly it falls apart.
Oh, instantly.
Right, you drag a green texture over a guy's face, and it doesn't look like skin. It looks like he fell face first into a bucket of greenhouse paint.
Yeah, it looks cheap.
It looks so cheap, the magic is just missing. But today, we are going to give you that magic. Welcome to the deep dive.
We are so excited for this one.
Yes. If you are listening to this right now, consider this your personal, custom-tailored masterclass.
Yeah.
We are speaking directly to you, the designer who is ready to stop just tweaking contrast sliders, and who really wants to start building entirely new, believable realities from scratch.
We are totally tearing apart the dirty secret of Hollywood poster design today.
We really are. We are getting incredibly granular today.
Because, honestly, to build a believable monster, you have to understand the foundational mechanisms of how digital images actually function on a pixel level.
Yep.
We are breaking down the specific professional workflows that really separate the amateurs from the absolute masters of the craft.
And we are pulling this knowledge directly from the gold standard of technical instruction. Our roadmap for this whole reality-bending exercise is Chapter 09, Advanced Compositing.
Such a good chapter.
It's amazing. It's from the book Adobe Photoshop CC Classroom in a book 2018. And right up front, I really want to make sure you have access to this exact material.
Yeah, you really need to see these assets for yourself to truly grasp the transformation we are talking about.
Exactly. So, you can buy the book right now by scanning the QR code of the book link provided in the description below. Seriously, just scan it, grab the book.
Do it.
And while you're down there checking that out, if you want to keep leveling up your skills with us, please explicitly follow for more technical design breakdowns and career-building content. We've got so much more of this coming.
So much more. And the project from Chapter 09, it's a brilliant crucible for learning all this.
Okay, let's unpack this. What are we actually building?
So we are tasked with building a classic B-movie monster poster titled The Curse of Frankenstein.
Love the pun.
It's great, right? The normal guy in the blue shirt, our base layer, is referred to as the Franken layer.
Okay.
And we are taking him and applying these incredible, grotesque, cinematic makeup elements provided by Russell Brown with illustration by John Connell.
So we've got this digital solder just full of disjointed monster parts. But before we even touch a single pixel, I feel like we have to talk about the psychology of the workspace.
Oh, absolutely. This is where everyone goes wrong.
Right. Because if you've ever opened like 10 different images in 10 different windows and tried to awkwardly drag and drop them one by one into a master document,
It's a nightmare.
it is a chaotic, soul-crushing way to start a project. Your brain is already totally overwhelmed before you've made a single creative decision.
That disorganized approach is exactly what leads to creative burnout.
Yes.
The text highlights a foundational shift in how you should handle raw assets. Instead of manually juggling files, we use Adobe Bridge.
Okay, so how does that work?
Well, you navigate to your monster makeup folder, you select all the raw files, your bolts, your stitches, your skin textures, and you execute a really specific command.
Which is?
It's called load files into Photoshop layers.
I have to admit, I always used to skip that step when I was learning. I was just thinking, oh, it's just as fast to drag them in.
But it's not.
No, it's really not.
Yeah.
What that command does is it automates all that tedious setup. It takes all 8 or 9 images and perfectly stacks them, totally centered, inside one single Photoshop document.
Which is great.
It is great, but, and here's where the immediate problem arises, it imports them in alphabetical order.
Which is, entirely logical for a computer.
Right.
But entirely disastrous for visual design.
Exactly, because alphabetically, your normal guy, the Franken layer, might end up right in the middle of the stack.
Yeah.
And above him is a texture, below him is a picture of an isolated ear, and floating at the very top is just a random clump of monster hair.
It literally looks like an explosion in a wig factory.
It really does.
The thing you have to understand is that the layer stack in Photoshop isn't just a list. It is a literal representation of three-dimensional depth within a two-dimensional screen.
Okay, I like that.
It is the z-axis of your digital world. So the most critical first step of compositing is establishing a rigid, logical hierarchy.
I always try to visualize the layer stack like building a physical theatrical set on a stage.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, like if you're building a scene of a forest, the painted backdrop of the sky has to go up first, right at the very back of the stage.
Right, the background.
Exactly. That's the absolute bottom layer in Photoshop. Then you bring in the trees, then the props, and finally the actors at the front of the stage.
Makes perfect sense.
Whatever's closest to the audience, closest to the camera lens, has to go on top, because it literally physically blocks whatever is standing behind it.
And that's exactly why the text directs us to drag the Franken layer down to the absolute bottom of the stack and the monster hair layer up to the very top.
Getting that house in order.
Yes. Establishing this logical, chronological hierarchy before you perform a single edit is vital for a commercial workflow.
It's not just about, having a tidy screen to make you feel good.
Not at all. When a client is sitting over your shoulder asking for immediate changes, or, when you open this file 6 months from now, that structural logic will save you hours of forensic confusion.
Totally. A messy layer stack is basically a reflection of a messy creative process.
Exactly.
But even when you get the layers ordered perfectly, you hit this immediate, infuriating roadblock that the book specifically calls out. And it's something every single beginner faces.
Oh, the scale issue.
Yes. These monster elements were created at a massive high-resolution scale. They are huge. The neck bolts are bigger than the guy's entire head.
It's ridiculous.
So you have to resize them. You select all your monster parts, you activate the free transform tool, and you scale them down.
And we should definitely pause here on the math of the free transform tool.
Good idea.
Because when you scale multiple disparate layers simultaneously, you ensure that they maintain their relative scale to one another.
Right, because if you did it one by one,
if you scaled the left bolt and then tried to eyeball the scaling of the right bolt later, you'd end up with lopsided anatomy.
and nobody wants lopsided bolts.
Exactly. By selecting them all and dragging the corner handle, you force a universal mathematical reduction. The text actually has us scale them to exactly 50%.
Right, and you absolutely have to hold the shift key while you drag that corner handle.
Oh, crucial detail.
I remember early on, I would constantly forget to hold shift, and I'd end up with a monster whose head was stretched incredibly wide or squished down flat like a pancake.
Oh, worse.
It ruins it. The shift key locks the aspect ratio. It forces the computer to say, for every 1% you reduce the width, I will automatically reduce the height by 1%.
It saves the physical integrity of the object.
Exactly. But then comes the frustration you mentioned earlier.
Right, the snapping.
Yes. You have everything scaled down, you grab the green skin texture layer, and you try to carefully slide it over the normal guy's face.
And you're trying to be so precise.
You are trying to perfectly align the fake green eye holes with his real eyes. You get it almost there, and suddenly, snap.
Wow.
The green skin just violently jerks to the left. You try to move it back, and snap. It jerks to the center of the canvas. It's those bright magenta lines flashing everywhere.
The dreaded smart guides.
The smart guides.
Smart guides are the digital equivalent of like an overly aggressive driving instructor grabbing the steering wheel while you're trying to parallel park.
That is the perfect analogy.
They are programmed to find the exact center of the document or the exact edge of another layer and magnetically pull your active layer toward those mathematical boundaries.
Which, to be fair, is fantastic if you're designing a sleek corporate brochure and you need 4 text boxes perfectly aligned.
Exactly. For geometric, rigid layouts, they are indispensable.
But for this,
But for organic, biological compositing, like sliding a piece of fake scarred skin over the curve of a human cheekbone, they are an absolute nightmare.
total nightmare.
Because organic placement doesn't care about the mathematical center of a canvas. It cares about anatomical flow.
And the text gives this tiny, almost throwaway pro tip that fundamentally changes your relationship with the software.
It really does.
You just hold down the Control key or the Command key on a Mac while you drag the layer.
Just one key.
It temporarily disables the magnetic snap of the smart guides. The magenta lines disappear, the gravity is turned off, and you suddenly have complete millimeter-perfect control.
It's a tiny keyboard shortcut, but it removes so much friction.
It really does.
It's recognizing those exact friction points that transitions you from fighting the software to actually collaborating with it.
So true. So we have the pieces on the board. They are scaled down. They're perfectly positioned. But here is the existential terror of digital design.
Oh, right.
If I start warping and melting this green skin texture to fit his face, what happens if I go too far? What happens if I completely ruin it?
The fear is real.
It is, because I only have one copy of this asset in the file. If I destroy it, I have to delete it, re-import it, rescale it, and start all over.
And this right here is the dividing line.
Tell me about it.
What's fascinating here is that the defining trait of an amateur designer is that their workflow is a one-way street. Every single click permanently destroys data. But the defining trait of a professional designer is the ability to change their mind at any point in the process without losing a single pixel of the original raw material.
Which brings us to the core philosophy of non-destructive editing.
Exactly.
This is such a huge focus in the text. It's actually the main subject of the chapter's review questions at the very end.
Yeah, it asks a very specific question.
Right, the book asks, what is the fundamental difference between regular filters and smart filters?
Well, to really understand this, we have to look at what Photoshop is doing on a microscopic level.
Okay, let's zoom in.
An image is basically just a grid of colored squares, right? Pixels.
Right.
When you apply a standard regular filter, say a heavy blur, the software mathematically calculates the new blurred colors and physically overwrites the original pixels.
Wow.
The sharp pixels are literally gone. It's like pouring bleach on a physical photograph.
That is a terrifying image.
Once you hit save and close the document, that original sharp image data ceases to exist in the universe. It is a completely destructive process.
Which is terrifying when a client is involved.
Oh, it's professional suicide.
Because clients are famously, notoriously fickle.
Yes, they are. They will demand you aggressively blur a background on a Tuesday, and then 2 weeks later, they will say, actually, can we make the background just 10% sharper?
And if you used a destructive regular filter,
Your only option is to apologize, rebuild the entire file from scratch, and waste hours of your life.
so what does a smart filter do differently? How does it save us?
A smart filter does not touch the original pixels at all.
Wait, really?
Really, it floats above the image data. It acts as a mathematical instruction set that intercepts the light of the image before it even reaches your monitor.
Oh, wow.
So you can adjust the intensity of the blur, you can change its opacity, you can toggle it off entirely to see the raw image underneath, or you can delete the filter completely.
And the original image is just fine.
The original sharp pixels have been sitting underneath the whole time completely unharmed.
Okay, but there is a massive catch.
There is always a catch.
The absolute rule of the software is that you cannot apply a smart filter to a regular standard layer.
Correct. The architecture of a standard layer simply cannot support the metadata of a smart filter. You have to prepare the layer first.
Right, so the text explicitly tells us to take our green skin texture layer, right-click on its name, and select the command convert to Smart Object.
A very important step.
I always did this just because the tutorial told me to, but I want to unpack this.
Uh-huh.
What is actually happening inside the code when we convert a layer to a smart object? Because visually, it looks exactly the same on the screen.
Right. Think of a smart object as a highly durable, transparent museum display case.
Okay.
When you right-click and convert the layer, Photoshop essentially takes your original raw photograph, places it inside this impenetrable glass safe, locks the door, and embeds that safe right into your document.
I love that.
From that moment on, you are no longer interacting directly with the photograph.
So when I apply a smart filter,
You aren't painting on the Mona Lisa. You are taking a dry erase marker and drawing on the bulletproof glass in front of the Mona Lisa.
that completely changes the psychological weight of editing for me.
It really does. It cures that blank canvas syndrome.
Because when you are terrified of making a mistake,
Yeah.
you are totally paralyzed. You play it safe.
Exactly. But when you know your original asset is locked in a vault, you can take massive, aggressive, creative risks.
You can push the design to the absolute extreme, knowing you have a permanent safety net.
It totally encourages innovation through iteration. You don't have to fear the software anymore.
Which is exactly the mindset we need for the next step.
Oh boy.
Because we are about to use the most extreme, aggressive distortion tool that Photoshop offers.
The fun part.
We have to take this perfectly normal guy's face and physically mangle his bone structure to make him look terrifying.
We're going to perform digital plastic surgery using the Liquify filter.
Yes, the Liquify filter is just a fascinating piece of engineering.
It essentially treats the rigid grid of pixels as if it were a sheet of liquid rubber.
So we select our newly protected smart object layer and we open the Liquify dialog box.
Right.
And immediately we are presented with this massive suite of AI tools.
Yeah.
Photoshop has this entire section dedicated to face-aware Liquify.
Yeah, it's very prominent.
It automatically detects the eyes, the nose, the jawline. It has all these sliders that let you effortlessly widen a smile or shrink a forehead. It's incredibly quick and powerful.
And very powerful.
But the text tells us to do something completely counterintuitive.
It does.
It explicitly instructs us to collapse the face-aware menu, completely ignore the AI entirely, and focus strictly on the manual, old-school distortion brushes.
Yeah.
I really want to challenge this. Why on earth are we hiding the magical AI-driven automatic face editing tool when we are literally trying to edit a face?
Well, it's because the AI is programmed with a fundamental assumption
It is.
that it is operating on a human being. The face-aware algorithms were trained on millions of normal human faces. Its entire mathematical foundation is built around standard, realistic human anatomy.
So it knows exactly where the cheekbones should be.
Exactly. It's designed for high-end fashion retouching or subtle portrait corrections. It allows a retoucher to slightly narrow a jawline or maybe open a drooping eyelid by a fraction of a millimeter.
Right.
But its parameters are strictly bounded by realistic proportions. The sliders simply stop working once the distortion goes beyond the realm of human anatomy.
Wow, really?
Yeah, the algorithm is literally programmed to say, I refuse to push these pixels any further because this ceases to be a mathematically viable human face.
And that is the exact opposite of our goal.
Precisely. We don't want a slightly more attractive guy in a blue shirt.
No, we want a B-movie monster.
We want to completely break the rules of anatomy. We need heavy, protruding brow ridges that humans just don't have. We need sunken, asymmetrical eye sockets. We need a highly expressive, customized, terrifying result that the algorithm's safety parameters simply will not allow. The AI's strength is realism. Our goal is grotesque fantasy.
So the AI is basically a straitjacket for this kind of work.
Exactly. Therefore, we have to bypass the automation entirely and use the manual tools to sculpt the rubber ourselves.
That makes perfect sense. We need to be mad scientists here.
We really do.
So we set up our surgical theater. The Liquify window can be really tricky because it isolates the layer you are working on against a transparent background.
Right. You lose all context.
You are just staring at a floating green skin texture. But the book advises us to use a feature called Show Backdrop,
Yes, very important.
and we set it to Behind with an opacity of 75.
This is a crucial workflow habit. Context is literally everything when distorting.
Why is that?
Well, if you just warp a floating green texture in a vacuum, you might create a shape that looks cool, but when you hit OK and return to the main document, you'll find that your fake green eye holes are hovering somewhere near the guy's ears.
Right, I've done that so many times.
It's so frustrating.
But the Show Backdrop feature allows you to see the normal guy's face faintly beneath your green texture while you work.
It acts as a perfect anatomical map. You know exactly where his real eyes and nose are, so you can pull the green skin precisely around his actual features.
Okay, so let's break down the mechanics of the manual tools the text actually requires us to use. How do we physically melt this face?
Well, the first and honestly most aggressive tool is the forward warp tool.
The book gives us very specific settings for this. Brush size set to 150 and pressure set to 75.
Right.
So we take this massive brush, We click right above the monstrous eyebrows, and we physically drag our mouse violently downward, literally crushing the eye openings closed.
Yep.
Then we click below the eyes and drag violently upward.
To really understand the forward warp tool, you have to imagine a hidden two-dimensional wire mesh draped over the entire image.
Okay, I'm picturing it.
Every single pixel is attached to an intersection on this wire mesh. The brush basically acts like a heavy finger pressing into the mesh and dragging it.
Oh, that makes sense.
It pushes the pixels in the exact direction and distance that you move your mouse.
So by pulling the brow ridge down and forcing the cheekbones up,
You are creating an aggressive, unnatural, predatory squint. It instantly overrides the relaxed expression of the original photograph.
and because we were smart and used a smart object, if your mouse slips
Which it will.
and you accidentally drag his eyebrow halfway down his cheek, you haven't destroyed the file.
Not at all.
You can literally just paint the distortion away inside the Liquify window using the Reconstruct tool and try again. It's total freedom.
Exactly.
So we have the heavy brow. Next, the text moves us to the pucker tool, and we are instructed to use this specifically on the outer corners of the eyes.
Now, the pucker tool operates on a totally different mathematical principle.
Really?
Yeah, instead of dragging pixels, it creates a localized gravitational pull. It literally sucks the pixels inward, directly toward the absolute center of your brush cursor. It pinches the image data.
Like surface tension shrinking.
Exactly. By applying it to the outer corners of the eyes, you are gathering the surrounding skin pixels and pulling them tightly together.
What does that do visually?
It makes the eyes look smaller, more sunken, and deeply recessed into the skull. It completely removes the bright, open, friendly nature of a normal human eye.
That's so creepy.
It works perfectly.
And then, the exact inverse of that mechanism is the bloat tool.
Right.
The book has us take the bloat tool and apply it to the outer edges of the eyebrows.
Because where pucker creates a black hole, bloat creates inflation.
It pushes pixels away.
Radially away from the center of the brush, it acts like a magnifying glass placed over the mesh.
Oh, I see.
So by repeatedly clicking the bloat tool on the brow ridge, you force those pixels to expand outward. This creates heavy, protruding, Neanderthal-like bone bulges right above the eyes.
You are literally generating the illusion of added bone mass just by pushing the surrounding pixels away.
It is literal digital sculpting.
It's amazing. You combine the aggressive pulling of the forward warp, the violent pinching of the pucker tool, and the massive inflating of the bloat tool, and suddenly you look at the canvas and the normal guy in the striped shirt is completely gone.
He's gone.
He has been resurrected in a laboratory. The face is genuinely horrifying.
And then you hit, okay, the smart filter calculates the math, and the distortion is applied back in our main document.
It is a profound transformation. However,
There's always a however.
distorting the physical geometry is really only half the battle in complex compositing. Because right now, the illusion is completely broken the second your eye travels down the image.
Oh, completely broken.
Because we just have this incredibly detailed, distorted, terrifying green mask sitting perfectly over a face. But
The guy's hands.
his hands, his wrists, his neck, they are still completely normal, healthy, flesh-colored human skin sticking right out of his shirt.
It looks ridiculous.
It looks like a guy wearing a very expensive Halloween mask, but who totally forgot to buy the matching gloves.
It's comical.
Integrating these elements color-wise is the crucible, where the composite either becomes a believable reality or falls apart as a cheap collage.
And this brings us to the real mastery of blending modes and precision positioning.
Okay, so first, we have to finish the physical construction.
Right.
The book walks us through dropping in the remaining gruesome details. We use our trusted free transform tool to precisely scale, rotate, and place the green nose stitches over his nose,
Yeah.
the green neck stitches along his throat, the nasty green ear staples on his lobes, a massive enhanced green forehead piece to give him that classic blocky monster head shape,
Classic Frankenstein look.
and of course the iconic bolts protruding from the sides of his neck.
It's really just a matter of treating each layer like a physical decal and aligning it with the anatomical flow we just established with the Liquify tool.
But the massive, glaring problem still remains. His healthy, flesh-colored hands. We have to paint them green so they match the grotesque face. And here is where I really want to talk about the absolute worst mistake a beginner can make.
Oh, I know exactly what you're gonna say.
Because if I don't know what I'm doing, my first instinct is to create a new layer. Select the paintbrush, pick a nice bright green color from the palette, and just manually paint solid green right over his hands.
Just colored right in.
Yeah, I'm staying inside the lines, being very careful. Why does that look so unbelievably terrible?
Because you are fundamentally misunderstanding what a digital photograph actually is.
Okay, tell me.
A photograph of a hand isn't just, flesh-colored. It is a highly complex topographical map of light and shadow.
Right.
You have bright specular highlights bouncing off the oils of the fingernails. You have deep, rich shadows pooling in the creases of the knuckles. You have the ambient occlusion where the fingers physically press together.
And all of that matters.
That intricate interplay of light and shadow is exactly what your brain interprets as three-dimensional volume.
So when I grab a digital brush and paint solid green over that hand,
You are operating with 100% opacity. You are literally burying all of that microscopic lighting data under a flat mathematical wall of green pixels.
yeah, wow.
You destroy the highlights, you destroy the shadows, you destroy the three-dimensional form.
So it doesn't look like a green hand anymore.
No, it looks like someone took a piece of flat, green construction paper, cut it into the shape of a hand, and glued it over the photograph. It completely flattens the reality.
It kills the illusion instantly.
Yeah.
So how do the professionals do it? How do we change the color of the skin without destroying the volume of the hand?
The text outlines a very specific, almost magical workflow for this.
Okay, walk me through it.
First, we create a brand new empty layer above the normal guy.
Got it.
Second, we change the blending mode of that empty layer from normal to color.
Color blend mode.
Third, we select a soft-edged brush, setting the hardness to exactly 0%.
Nice and soft.
And fourth, and here's where the workflow gets really interesting, we don't just guess which green to use from the color picker window.
Right, because my guess is always wrong.
Exactly. We use a trick to steal the exact, perfect reality from the image itself.
You are referring to the eyedropper shortcut.
Yes, I am.
This changed everything for me.
It's so good.
You have your brush tool selected, you are ready to paint, but before you click, you press and hold the Alt key or the Option key on a Mac,
Right.
and instantly your round brush cursor vanishes and it turns into a tiny eyedropper icon.
Yep.
You move that eyedropper over the monster's heavily textured, gross, undead forehead and you click.
And what does that do?
The software samples that exact specific pixel of green. You let go of the Alt key, and your cursor instantly snaps back to being a paintbrush, but it is now fully loaded with the exact, perfect, sickly green color of the face.
It's brilliant, and it's worth pausing here to deeply emphasize the concept of workflow velocity.
Hey.
The text mentions these shortcuts explicitly for a reason. Using the Alt or Option key for instantaneous color picking, or using the bracket keys on your keyboard.
The left bracket to shrink the brush size, the right bracket to expand it.
Yes. These are not just neat tricks. They are the true defining markers of a seasoned professional's workflow.
It's all about muscle memory. Claudia.
Exactly. When you watch a high-end retoucher work, their non-dominant hand is anchored to the keyboard and their eyes never leave the canvas.
They aren't clicking around menus.
They are not breaking their creative focus to drag their mouse over to a toolbar, click an icon, open a menu, drag a slider, and then navigate back to the canvas.
That takes forever.
Every time you leave the canvas, you lose your visual rhythm. These keyboard shortcuts drastically reduce the friction between human intent and software execution.
It speeds up production time exponentially.
It really does.
Okay, so we are locked in. We have our perfectly sized soft brush. We are loaded with the exact stolen monster green, and our layer is set to the color blending mode.
Ready to paint.
But wait, I am notoriously terrible at coloring inside the lines.
Same.
I have a very shaky hand. If I just start painting this green over his fingers, I know for a fact I'm going to accidentally paint green over the blue striped shirt behind his hand.
Oh, yeah.
Or I'm going to paint green over the transparent background. It's going to look so sloppy. How do we keep the paint exactly where it needs to be?
Well, the text offers another incredible trick for absolute precision. We basically use the layer itself to generate a protective force field.
The force field.
It's called selecting the layer contents.
Oh yes, I love this.
It's so useful.
You hover your mouse over the layers panel and you hold down the Ctrl key or a command on a Mac.
Right.
You hover specifically over the tiny thumbnail image of the Franken layer, not the name of the layer, the actual picture.
Yeah.
And you click.
And suddenly, boom.
The canvas is surrounded by those little animated black and white dashed lines, the marching ants.
The marching ants.
They perfectly mathematically outline the entire silhouette of the normal guy.
What is brilliant about this shortcut is the logic behind it.
Explain that.
When you Ctrl-click a layer thumbnail, You are instructing Photoshop to analyze every single pixel on that layer.
Okay.
It selects only the pixels that have 100% opacity. It entirely ignores all the transparent pixels surrounding the subject.
So it's perfectly accurate.
It creates an absolute mathematical boundary based on the physical presence of the object.
So because those marching ants are active, they act as an impenetrable wall.
Exactly.
You can take your green paintbrush and you can paint wildly, erratically outside the lines of his fingers. But the software will refuse to let the green paint appear on the transparent background.
The paint will only stick to the pixels inside the active selection.
It guarantees perfectly sharp, clean edges along the silhouette of the hand. It's so satisfying.
It is, though it is important to note the specific warning the text provides here.
Right, there is a catch.
The selection boundary protects the outside environment, but it does not protect the internal elements.
Right. The selection includes his blue striped shirt because the shirt is part of the opaque layer.
Exactly. So if you just take a massive brush and swipe it completely across his chest, you will instantly dye his clothing green.
You don't want a green shirt.
Yeah.
You still have to zoom in, shrink your brush down using those bracket keys, and carefully navigate the internal boundaries between his wrist and his cuff.
Yeah, you still have to do the work.
But let's go back to the most important part of this equation. So what does this all mean? We paint the green, we are using the color blending mode. Why does it look like actual believable skin and not the flat construction paper we talked about earlier?
Well, to truly understand blending modes, we have to understand the fundamental mathematics of how Photoshop processes digital light.
Okay, let's get into the math.
Every single pixel on your screen is defined by two distinct sets of data.
Okay.
First, it has a luminance value. This dictates strictly how bright or how dark the pixel is on a scale from pure black to pure white.
It's black and white.
The luminance is the architectural foundation. It contains all the shadows, the highlights, the wrinkles, the entire 3D geometry of the object.
Okay, so that's the physical shape.
Correct. The second set of data is the color value, which is broken down into hue, the actual pigment, like red, blue, or green,
Right.
and saturation, which is how intensely that pigment is applied.
Got it. So when I set my empty layer to the normal blending mode and I paint green, what am I doing?
You are replacing both the luminance and the color. You are overriding the entire 3D shape with a flat wall of green.
Right, the construction paper effect.
Exactly. But when you change the layer's blending mode to color,
This is the magic part.
you are programming a highly specific mathematical override. You are telling the software, I want you to look at the layer beneath me, the photograph of the hand,
Okay.
and I want you to keep 100% of the underlying luminance data.
So the shadows between the knuckles stay dark. The bright highlights on the fingernails stay bright. The physical lighting of the room the photo was taken in is totally preserved.
Yes. The 3D volume remains entirely untouched. But you tell the software, I want you to mathematically delete the underlying flesh-colored hue and saturation and replace it completely with the green hue and saturation that I am painting right now.
That is absolutely mind-blowing when you really think about the math happening in real time.
It really is.
It seamlessly fuses the physical three-dimensional geometry of the underlying photograph with the chemical color dye of your paintbrush.
It tricks the human eye completely.
It looks like real porous skin illuminated by real studio lights. It just happens to be green.
It is the ultimate compositing secret.
I use it for everything now.
It's the exact same mathematical process you use to tint a monochrome historical photo or to realistically change the color of a car in a commercial advertisement.
Or changing the color of a model's lipstick without destroying the texture of her lips.
Exactly. It preserves reality while chemically altering the surface.
Incredible. So, we have carefully painted the hands. We have merged all the stitches, the textures, the bolts, and our base guy into one single horrifying monster layer.
He looks great.
He does. The text then has us drag and drop our completed monster into a brand new pre-made document called backdrop.psd.
Right, getting him into the environment.
It's a spooky, atmospheric scene with a creepy old house, dead trees, and a dark blue sky. We place our monster right in the foreground.
But looking at the poster, it feels empty.
It really does. It needs environmental storytelling. It needs props.
And this brings us to a scenario that every single designer, no matter how experienced, faces on a daily basis.
Oh boy. Going down a creative dead end and realizing your idea is just terrible.
The dreaded realization that you have completely overdesigned and your composition is collapsing under the weight of its own effects.
Exactly. The chapter introduces a completely separate new asset to teach us how to experiment fearlessly and more importantly, how to time travel out of our own mistakes.
Which is such a valuable lesson.
It's a plain, flat, gray graphic of a tombstone. Let's talk about the history panel and how we undo the damage we cause to our own designs.
Well, when most people outside the design world think of fixing a mistake on a computer, whether they are typing an email or making a spreadsheet, they think of the universal panic button.
The standard undo command. Control-Z on a PC or Command-Z on a Mac.
Exactly. It's totally ingrained in our muscle memory. You mess up, you hit CRL-Z.
But the text highlights a severe, fundamental limitation of the standard undo command, at least regarding how it functioned by default in this specific 2018 version of Photoshop we were studying.
Right. It worked differently back then.
Hitting CRL-Z did not walk you backward in time step by step. It functioned as a toggle switch.
Yeah.
It only remembered your very last single action.
So if I painted a line and hit CRL-Z, the line disappears.
All right.
If I hit CRL-Z again, the line just comes back.
Exactly. It was essentially just a before and after preview of your last single click.
Which is fine if you immediately realize you made a mistake.
But what if you've spent the last 5 minutes carefully painting a complex mask, stacking adjustment layers and applying filters, and you suddenly realize the fundamental premise is just totally flawed?
Mashing CRL-Z won't save you?
You are trapped. You can only undo the last brushstroke, not the entire 5-minute process.
Which is a terrifying prospect when you are working on a tight deadline.
And that's exactly why Photoshop has a dedicated time machine built into its interface.
The history panel.
The history panel.
The history panel is a chronological, exhaustive ledger of every single action you have taken since the exact moment you opened the document.
Every single thing.
Every brushstroke, every selection, every layer you create is logged as an independent state.
And by default, it records the last 50 states. Though the text astutely notes that you can dive into the Preferences menu and increase this number if your computer has the RAM to support it.
Definitely do that if you can. It literally allows you to point to a specific moment in the past, click it, and instantly revert the entire complex document to exactly how it looked at that exact second.
It's amazing. So the book sets up this brilliant prep for us.
It does.
It has us intentionally make a massive, convoluted mistake on this tombstone graphic, just to demonstrate the raw power of this time machine.
We really mess it up.
We open the plain gray tombstone, and we go absolutely wild with effects. First, we apply a difference clouds filter,
Which uses random noise to generate a heavy, smoky, cloudy texture across the stone.
Then we dive into the blur gallery and apply an iris blur.
Now, iris blur simulates physical camera lenses.
Right.
You place the center of the iris blur at the top of the tombstone so the RIP text stays razor sharp in focus.
Okay.
But it creates a gradual, heavy blur that falls off toward the bottom of the stone, simulating a really shallow depth of field.
Right. It looks highly photographic.
Yeah.
But we don't stop there. We start aggressively stacking adjustment layers. We add a brightness contrast layer to crush the darks.
Yeah.
Then we add a channel mixer.
Yeah.
And the book gives us these exact, incredibly specific coordinates for the channel mixer.
It gets really granular.
It tells us to set the output to the green channel, then take the green source slider and push it to +37, and take the blue source slider and crank it all the way to +108.
Let's unpack the math of what that channel mixer is actually doing, because it's not just a simple color tint.
Okay, lay it on me.
An image on your screen is composed of 3 channels of light: red, green, and blue.
RGB.
Exactly. The channel mixer allows you to take the brightness data from one channel and basically map it onto another.
Oh, interesting.
So by setting the output to green and heavily increasing the blue input, you are telling Photoshop, look at all the areas in the image that have blue light.
Which, in a cloudy sky or a shadowy image, is usually the deep shadows, right?
Yes. And physically convert that blue energy into bright green energy.
Which turns the entire tombstone, this highly unnatural, glowing, radioactive, sickly green color. It looks completely toxic.
It looks awful.
And finally, just to push it completely over the edge, we add an exposure adjustment layer, pushing the exposure slider to +0.90.
Which artificially floods the image with light, completely blowing out the highlights until they're just pure, clipped white.
It is an incredibly aggressive, highly stylized, complex series of destructive edits.
You have fundamentally altered the texture, the depth, the color chemistry, and the lighting of the original asset.
And then We drag this radioactive, blurry tombstone into our main movie poster document.
And we immediately realize it is a total disaster.
It completely clashes with the moody, dark blue aesthetic of the background. It distracts from the monster. It just looks terrible.
We need to completely pivot.
And if we only had Shift-Alt-Z, we would have to manually delete the exposure layer, delete the channel mixer, delete the brightness layer, try to reverse the blur, try to undo the clouds. It would be a nightmare.
A total nightmare. This raises an important question, though, one that really defines advanced compositing.
What's that?
How do we use the history panel not just as an emergency undo panic button, but as an active comparative design tool?
Yes. Because we don't just delete the file in frustration and start from scratch. We open the history panel and we see the massive list of everything we just did. The blurs, the sliders, the layers.
The whole ledger.
And we look up the list, find the exact line that says difference clouds, and we just click it.
And the change is instantaneous.
It's magical.
The deep depth of field blur vanishes. The radioactive green color math disappears. The blown out exposure is gone.
The adjustment layers literally vanish from the layers panel.
You are immediately transported back in time to the precise moment right after you applied the initial smoky texture, but before you went down the chaotic rabbit hole with the blurs and colors.
I always compare the history panel to saving your progress before a massive boss fight in a video game.
That's a great way to think about it.
You know you're about to try a really risky experimental strategy like stacking a bunch of extreme color math and blurs.
Right.
If the strategy completely fails and you get a game over visually, you don't have to replay the entire level. You don't have to re-import the file.
You just load your last save state and you are back at the door of the boss room, ready to try a completely different path. That psychological safety net is the ultimate freedom to experiment.
It really is.
Knowing you can always jump back in time encourages designers to try wilder, more innovative effects. The fear of ruining the file is entirely removed.
And furthermore, jumping between states allows designers to A/B test completely different visual atmospheres.
Oh, I do this all the time.
You could spend 10 minutes building the neon green blurry version, then jump back in time and spend 10 minutes building a dark, gritty version.
And then you can literally click back and forth between the two states in the history panel, instantly previewing totally different realities before deciding which one actually fits the composition.
It's so powerful. And speaking of the dark, gritty reality, that's exactly the new path the book guides us down.
Okay, let's build the right tombstone.
From our saved state at the difference clouds, we branch off into a new timeline. We go to filter, then noise, then add noise.
We set it to 3% Gaussian distribution and check the monochromatic box.
What does that do?
This basically scatters black and white pixels across the image, giving the smooth digital stone a rough, physical, grainy realism, like actual carved granite.
And we must note what happens to the history panel the exact millisecond you apply that new noise filter.
Oh, this is important.
All those dimmed out, abandoned states below your current position, the blurs, the radioactive color adjustments, they are permanently deleted from the ledger.
The history panel branches off. You have effectively rewritten the timeline of the document.
The old future is gone. The new future is being written.
It's visual time travel.
It really is. And to finish this new timeline, we use a filter called lighting effects. We choose a preset called flashlight.
Which is really cool. This creates a virtual 3D light source inside the software.
We point a tight light blue spotlight directly at the top of the tombstone so it highlights the RIP text.
Then we drop the global ambient slider down to 46.
This plunges the outer edges of the stone into deep, moody shadows. We drag this new, gritty, dramatically lit tombstone into our main movie poster, and it just sits beautifully in the environment.
It fits the world perfectly.
It's a profound lesson in creative iteration. Rarely is your first creative impulse the correct one for the final composition.
Almost never. The ability to pivot flawlessly is what actually delivers final results.
Okay, we are in the home stretch here. We have our monster, we have our environment, we have our foreground tombstone.
It's coming together.
But we need one final chilling detail. The book wants us to place a terrifying screaming face into the dark window of the creepy house in the background.
Ooh, spooky.
Very spooky. But the source material provided for this face introduces a technical nightmare that plagues literally every single commercial designer on the planet.
Oh, I know what this is.
I don't care if you work at a local print shop or a massive Hollywood studio, you will face this problem.
Yes. The inescapable reality of bad source material.
Yes. Specifically, low-resolution files.
The bane of my existence.
The text introduces a file called faces.jpg. And it states very clearly, right in the chapter, low-resolution images are fine, even desirable for web pages and social media.
Because they load quickly on a phone.
Exactly. But when you are designing a high-resolution 300 dots per inch movie poster destined for a massive physical print, a tiny web image is absolutely useless.
It's completely unusable. The client hands you an image they literally right-clicked and downloaded from an Instagram feed, and they look you in the eye and ask you to blow it up so it can cover the side of a city bus.
You just want to cry.
You do?
Because the book has us open this faces.jpg file and deliberately zoom our view in to 300%. And you immediately see the problem.
It isn't a photograph anymore.
No, it is a mosaic. It's just a blocky, jagged, pixelated mess.
And our goal, according to the text, is to open the image size dialog box and scale this tiny image up to an immense 400% of its original physical size.
Now, if we don't understand the math, and we just grab the corners and stretch a low-resolution image, Photoshop takes one tiny square pixel and physically stretches it until it is a massive square block of the exact same color.
It literally looks like a retro 8-bit video game. It has zero detail.
So to upscale an image properly without creating those massive blocks, the software has to engage a complex mathematical process called resampling.
Right, resampling.
And I've always struggled with this concept. I've never truly understood how upscaling isn't just literal magic.
It kind of feels like magic.
Right. If I have a photograph that is 10 pixels wide and I tell Photoshop to force it to be 100 pixels wide, those 90 extra pixels literally did not exist when the camera clicked the shutter.
No, they didn't.
There's no physical data there. Is the software just hallucinating them into existence? How does it know what to draw?
Well, hallucinating is actually a remarkably accurate way to describe interpolation, which is the math behind resampling.
Okay, how does it work?
When you force the image size to 400%, Photoshop physically creates a massive empty grid of new pixels.
Right.
It then has to fill those empty squares. It does this by analyzing the original pixels.
So it looks at what's already there.
Exactly. If it sees a dark gray pixel on the left and a light gray pixel on the right, and 5 empty new pixels between them, the resampling algorithm mathematically calculates a smooth transitional gradient of gray values to bridge the gap.
Oh, wow.
It is making highly educated guesses about what the missing visual information should look like based on the surrounding data.
And the book points out a crucial drop-down menu in the image size box that controls this exact math, the resample menu.
Yes. By default, it's set to automatic, where Photoshop just guesses which math to use.
But the text explicitly forces us to explore 2 specific, distinct algorithms to prove that we, the designers, have control over how the software hallucinated.
The first algorithm we test is called Bicubic Smoother, specifically the enlargement setting.
Right. And when we select that from the drop-down, we look at the preview window, and the image looks, well, it's definitely less blocky.
It takes those hard, jagged edges of the retro pixels and aggressively blurs them out. It calculates smooth transitions everywhere.
But the result is incredibly soft.
Yeah, it looks like you're looking at the face through a foggy window.
It does. Then, the book has us switch the resample method to preserve details, also for enlargement. And the difference is absolute night and day.
Preserve details represents a massive leap forward in Photoshop's underlying engineering.
How is the difference?
Rather than just blindly blurring every transition, this algorithm utilizes complex edge detection math.
Yeah.
It analyzes the image to find areas of high contrast, like the sharp rim of the glasses on the screaming face, or the hard edge of a tooth against a dark mouth.
And what does it do with those edges?
It mathematically protects those sharp edges while generating the new pixels around them.
Oh, that's smart. It tries to keep the face looking in focus.
But there is a massive trade-off, which the text explicitly calls out.
Right, there's a problem. When the algorithm aggressively hunts for sharp details to preserve, it doesn't know the difference between a deliberate detail, like an eyelash, and an accidental detail.
Like digital noise or compression artifacts from the original low-quality JPEG.
Exactly. By forcing the edges to stay sharp during a 400% enlargement, the algorithm simultaneously magnifies and sharpens all the inherent grain, all the color noise, and all the compression artifacts that were hidden in the tiny original file.
The resulting image is sharp, yes, but it looks incredibly crunchy.
Crunchy is the perfect word. It looks gritty and corrupted. It solves one problem but creates another.
But Photoshop has an elegant solution built right into the exact same window.
Yes. Directly under the Resample drop-down menu, a new slider magically appears when you select Preserve Details.
It's the Reduce Noise slider.
The text has us grab that slider and push it all the way up to 50%. And suddenly, actual magic happens.
We get the absolute best of both computational worlds.
The algorithm maintains the sharp, crisp edges of the glasses and the teeth, but it simultaneously applies a targeted smoothing effect to the flat areas of skin, completely wiping out the crunchy amplified grain.
We literally took a garbage, unusable social media file, ran it through an algorithmic car wash, and generated a massive, clean asset viable for a Hollywood movie poster.
The real-world career application of this specific workflow cannot be overstated.
You must always manually compare your resample methods. There is no magic, universal, one-size-fits-all algorithm.
It really depends on what you were doing, depending on the subject matter. Whether you are enlarging a soft human face, a geometric skyscraper with rigid lines, or a chaotic landscape of trees, you will require a completely different mathematical approach.
Advanced compositing is just a delicate, deliberate, constant balancing act between preserving sharp physical details and smoothing out algorithmic artifacts.
Absolutely. Okay, so we have our beautifully upscaled, massive, screaming face. Now we just have to integrate it into the poster.
The final touch.
We need to put it inside the dark window of the creepy house behind the monster. The book has us copy the entire upscaled image, tab over to our main poster file, and grab the elliptical marquee tool.
The circle selection tool.
Right. But we don't just draw a hard, sharp circle. We go up to the top options bar, and we change a setting called feather. We set it to exactly 50 pixels.
Now, feathering is a crucial concept for blending elements.
Explain feathering for us.
When you draw a standard selection, the edge is a rigid mathematical cliff. It is 100% opaque on the inside and 0% opaque on the outside.
A hard line.
Yes, a 50-pixel feather fundamentally changes that edge. It creates a gradual, semi-transparent gradient that fades out over the span of exactly 50 pixels.
So it softens the absolute boundary of the selection.
Exactly.
So we draw this large, soft, blurry, invisible oval right over the window of the creepy house. And instead of just hitting paste, the text guides us to a very specific hidden command. Edit, then paste special, then paste into.
And when we click that, Photoshop takes our massive screaming face, drops it into the document, but automatically creates a layer mask based on our feathered oval.
The face is completely trapped inside the oval, and the edges of the face fade smoothly and perfectly into the dark walls of the house.
It literally looks like he's floating inside the glass.
But the lighting of the face is completely wrong.
Oh, yeah. It looks like a bright photograph pasted over a dark window. It doesn't look atmospheric at all.
Exactly. And this brings us right back to our secret weapon, blending modes.
We go to the Layers panel, and we change the blending mode of the screaming face from normal to luminosity.
And we drop the overall layer opacity down to 50%.
The luminosity blending mode is doing the exact mathematical opposite of the color mode we used earlier to paint the green hands.
Right, because earlier we told Photoshop to keep the underlying shadows and replace the color.
Exactly. With luminosity, we're telling the software, I want you to look at the dark, spooky window and the deep blue night sky underneath. I want you to keep 100% of those dark blue and black colors.
Okay.
But I want you to replace the underlying lighting with the bright highlights and dark shadows of the screaming face.
That is brilliant. It maps the physical shape of the face using only light while completely adopting the environmental color of the night sky.
And combined with the 50% opacity lowering its presence and the 50-pixel feathered edge melting it into the architecture.
It transforms a solid photograph into a transparent, terrifying apparition. It literally looks like a ghost materializing inside the glass of the window, illuminated only by moonlight.
It is a masterful, elegant final touch.
And with that, the poster is finally complete. The Curse of Frankenstein is ready to be printed and shipped to the box office. Let's take a breath and do a quick recap of the massive reality-bending ground we just covered today.
It was a lot.
We started by organizing our chaotic assets chronologically, importing them via Adobe Bridge to establish a strict Z-axis hierarchy. We learned to bypass the frustrating magnetic pull of smart guides for organic placement. We protected our fragile raw materials by locking them inside smart objects, allowing us to use non-destructive smart filters and eliminate the fear of failure.
So important.
We acted as digital mad scientists, deliberately bypassing AI anatomical safeguards to break the rules of human structure using the manual Liquify mesh tools. We seamlessly integrated disparate elements by mastering blending modes, specifically using the eyedropper shortcut and the color mode math to paint skin without destroying 3D volume.
That was huge.
We learned how to time travel, navigate branching realities, and save our designs from catastrophic dead ends using the history panel. And finally, we used advanced edge-detecting resampling algorithms to mathematically hallucinate new pixels, rescuing a low-resolution image and finishing it off with a feathered luminosity blend to create a cinematic ghost.
I mean, it truly is a comprehensive masterclass. It teaches not just where the buttons are, but the fundamental mindset of a commercial compositor. You are no longer just editing a photograph, you are constructing a totally new reality from disparate parts.
Absolutely.
Which, if we pull back from the software for just a moment, leaves us with a rather profound, maybe slightly unsettling, lingering thought, especially based on that final segment about upscaling and resampling.
Oh, I like where this is going. What are you thinking?
Well, think deeply about what the preserve details resampling algorithm is actually doing. We discussed how it looks at a lack of information, a literal gap in the physical data captured by the camera lens, and it uses complex math to guess what should be there.
Right.
It is forcefully generating entirely new pixels that never existed in the real world. It is literally fabricating reality, and it does it so flawlessly, smoothing out the noise and preserving the edges, that the human eye completely accepts it, even when printed massive on a movie poster.
It totally passes the test of reality.
Precisely. So the question really becomes, if Photoshop's algorithms are now so advanced that they can essentially hallucinate missing data, generate textures, and fabricate reality, at what specific point does a photograph stop being a mechanical, objective record of a moment in time and start becoming a generated digital painting?
Oh, wow.
As these predictive algorithms get better, faster, and more integrated into every single tool we use, how will this completely fracture our trust in visual media in the future?
That is heavy.
If the software can invent reality so well, when is a photo no longer a photo?
That is exactly the kind of murky, chaotic, diagnostic landscape we started talking about at the top of the show. We don't have a clean X-ray anymore. We are the ones painting the bones, and the software is helping us invent the marrow. What an incredible deep dive this has been. Thank you so much for joining us and exploring the hidden mechanics of reality with us. Remember, you absolutely need to see these visual transformations for yourself. The QR code for Adobe Photoshop CC Classroom in a book 2018 is waiting for you in the description below. Just scan it, get the book, load up Chapter 09, and try building this B-movie monster yourself.
That's the only way to really learn it.
And please don't forget to follow us right now for more intense technical breakdowns and career-building insights. We will see you on the next deep dive.